Okay, Dr. Mahonyane, you asked some penetrating questions during the presentation by Zonke. So for the benefit of the LEKGOTLA and also people out there, let's just reformulate these questions because I feel that we can't lose them. So I think the questions, the answers that will come from the colleagues and the speakers could inform the next intervention. Maybe just reformulate those questions for us.
Okay. Thank you, Pastor. I think firstly it was just an observation that the challenges that were outlined by Zonke around children's rights mainly was as a result of our predecessors signing the convention without applying themselves. Now my question was whether do we have the baseline or the foundation or the platform as in a starting place to engage, because it doesn't seem like we are well versed in terms of what need to happen first. Just to give you an example, there is rumors that NGOs in South Africa, they basically own all information, whether it is HIV/AIDS, whether it's education, and so forth. Now the question is, from a government's point of view, how do we collate this information about our own people and what is it that we're going to do about it? Because the institution or the sponsoring organization for these NGOs are foreign. So basically foreign countries are collecting data about ourselves, about our own development, our struggles, our health, our education, for what purpose? That was the first.
So that was the first question. So the second question?
The second question is around Helen.
Yes.
The second question is around Helen.
Yes.
Obviously, I am interested in brain studies, but I just wanted to know, basically, on the one hand, we have information or science is continuously producing research results that indicate that we should be moving in a different direction. To give an example, a research somewhere in America, I think it's Minnesota, they discovered that from the age of 16 to 35, a human body produces hormones. Part of what those hormones do to the body is they prevent one falling asleep quite early, say earlier than 2 o'clock in the morning. Yet our schooling system says children must go to school at 7 o'clock in the morning. Obviously, you know children are going to be tired. Now, what is it that we are doing to make sure that we align our education with the development as and when they happen? Now, my question directly to her is just how receptive is the establishment towards what she was presenting.
Wonderful. So those are very good questions. Let's see what comes out of them. You had another rounding up type of comment. Was it a comment or question, something like that?
Yes, thank you for that. I also make an observation that there seems to be a disconnect between what the lawmakers are doing versus the reality, the grassroots, what's happening in the grassroots. Just to give you an example, I'm not sure, I think it's Pretoria High Court or Cape Town High Court. They ruled against the Social Development Department in its attempt to take away the kids that we see standing on the streets. The ones that some of us believe that they are being hired. So the department wanted to take those kids to a place of safety. They said those mothers can remain there, but those kids must go and study. The court ruled that it is up to those parents to decide how they want to raise their children. The other thing that Ms. Zonke mentioned was that by law, criminal responsibility starts at the age of 18. We also know that South Africa, in its attempt to curb the phenomenon called BLESA, they increased the sexual consent to 21. Now, you can immediately see that there is a disconnect between what's happening. And the sad thing is, sometimes we speak about this thing at the intellectual level, when they actually affect people every single day.
Practically. Wow. Beautiful questions. I can't wait to hear what the mini LEKGOTLAs are going to come up with, because I think that's where they need to be taken. Maybe we should take it also into a mini LEKGOTLA. Absolutely. Yeah, but we'll also hear from the specialists when they respond.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Ruth, you've asked some very interesting questions during the session, which we want to be deliberated in the mini LEKGOTLA. I want also to keep it in record so that when we get answers, we can relate, we can remember exactly what were the questions. I hope you will be able to reproduce nicely the way you did. Yeah.
So I've got two questions.
Yeah.
So the first question is on child assessments.
Yes.
That would it be possible to actually have more assessments for children, especially those who are underprivileged?
Yes.
Because at the moment, the child assessments are actually happening in the children who are already privileged.
Yes.
And we miss out most of the problems or the issues that are actually sitting in mostly underprivileged children because of the lack of the assessments.
Yes.
Because we are mainly looking at rands and cents in terms of cost, but we're not looking at what is the cost of actually not doing those assessments in the long term.
Yes.
So that's the first question.
Yeah.
And then the other question is that when we look around now in the streets, there are a lot of children that we see in the streets.
Yes.
And those children, shouldn't they be homes of protection where they're actually taken to instead of them sitting in the streets, considering that in South Africa we're already paying tax to look after them anyway, because the more they're in the streets, the more they're actually at risk of crime, of drugs, prostitution, and a whole lot of other health issues, including education issues in terms of them not having an education. But if they're in a protective place where they're actually protected, then they will be looked after like any other child in your household.
And I hear you saying that we are paying taxes already, and as citizens, we should actually be demanding that we can't have children in the streets while we are paying for such facilities to be available.
Yes.
Powerful questions. Good. Let's hear what comes out. I hope you repeat this question in the middle of it, so that we can also have some of your colleagues deliberating on them. And when Zonke and the lead respond, then at least we have more comprehensive response.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, it's obviously going to be very difficult to replay the question that you asked. We've captured it during the session, but just for the benefit of having one package of all the questions that inform mini LEKGOTLA. You had the questions about, I think it sounds like a disconnect between what is happening on the ground and what is really happening at the lawmakers level. Maybe you can recollect.
Sure, thank you, Sam. So I think my question was really around the fact that if we look at early childhood development as well, and all the issues that we're having around childhood. So my question was around, we have a huge population of parents that haven't really been exposed to the ways of...
I remember that.
So haven't really been exposed to or been taught or had information at their fingertips of the how-to. There's never been a manual of how-to.
Yes.
So all the things we're seeing now, like the brain profiling and, and how you would coach children or coach yourself and reflect and all those things. We really haven't been exposed to that. So we've really been more reactive than anything else. So obviously we've passed all this on to our kids as well.
Yes.
And so my question was around, besides just government, I know that it's not only government that has to take ownership of this. All of us have to be solution orientated. But obviously everything starts at the grassroots level, and it would start from primary school. It will start at clinics, at homelands, local development, and all these things are part of the curriculum that should be taught at school for children. So even if they don't get it at home, at least they're getting it at the basis foundation when they get to school. And you know that everything that is learned there in school gets, it does get respected and it gets inculcated as well in terms of the right behaviors that we want to see. So I was asking, what are we actually doing? So for Zonke, who is really spearheading this, leading it from the front, what kind of platforms are there for us to drive these things? If we, all of us feel we want to do something, but it's almost like we've got our hands tied. There's no way. It's such a big issue, such a big problem. It's a massive, massive problem that really needs galvanizing of a lot of people, but it needs platforms, social platforms. And I think every human being wants to make a difference and they want to be involved. But, it's wonderful what you're doing. I mean, I absolutely love what you're doing. You're creating a platform for us to talk about these things. But can there be these kind of platforms in townships or where really, really at the grassroots level it is needed? So, absolutely.
Great.
Thanks.
I actually remember exactly that was what you wanted to find out if there are clear-cut forums out there in these needy communities that things like this can be addressed. So, thank you very much.
Because I said these are not new problems. These are old problems that we're faced with. And, so it sounds like what we're seeing right now is just a manifestation of all those problems that are there. But really, structurally, there needs to be something happening at the grassroots level.
Great. Let's hear what comes out of the mini LEKGOTLA and also when they respond during the main LEKGOTLA, what they say.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you. I'm sure we got to miss the emotions with which you asked the question, because that is what I liked, Faith, on when you were asking that question. One could connect with the emotions with which you were asking it, because you were sharing your practical experience as you were growing up, but also what you are seeing today live. But for the benefit of the mini LEKGOTLA and also for the broader audience, do you mind just reformulating your response to Zonge's presentation so that we keep it recorded so that next time when we go on workshops or even later on today, we could be responding to your question.
Thank you so much for that opportunity, Mr. Zim. My question was actually to ask the first question is, how far are the parents engaged and involved in the legislations that the government puts in place to rule our societies? Because those legislations, as much as they are concreted or they are built in the higher realms of authorities of the parliament, they affect us in the grassroots level, because it's a standard that is built for us to raise our children in the society and for us to be raised as children in society. And I don't hear whereby there is a parental meeting in which the government also involves the parents, so he can get the parents' challenges towards the standards that he is raising. To just be frank and to be clear, I was actually disturbed on the new law that has been released to say that children from the age of grade 4 are supposed to be taught about sex education in classrooms. Now, typical incidents. Few months ago, if I'm not mistaken, there was an incident whereby in Rotoport, near the township where I stay in Soweto, there were school children that were caught having sex in the mall. So those are the things that we put out there for children, and we put them as though we are protecting them, but we are actually pushing them in a dangerous direction. And meanwhile we are pushing them in a dangerous direction, we're putting barriers and limitation and red tape for parents to be able to give their children good guidance on what is right and what is not. When the government is saying that children need to be taught about these kind of things, which to us were quite a taboo subject.
Yes.
You know, they were not subjects that you can just talk about. And it built a sense of respect and a level of understanding, parenting from a child. But today, when a parent tries to preserve their children to a certain stage, because we were raised according to stages, which I also believe it's God's standards. God doesn't reveal so many things to us at once. He reveals things according to standards and stages as we grow spiritually. So parents did not hide information from us because of they wanted to seem superior. No, they were looking at us, the age where we are, and they scale. Are we able to take this in? Are we going to be at fault if they give us kind of information? Are we going to be able to handle it? Are we capacitated enough to digest this in a mature manner? You know, so that's why there will be that stage of being a child, there will be that stage of being indombi, there will be that stage of being umakoti, there will be that stage of being a mother, and in those stages, there will be like what you are doing right now in having LEKGOTLA. It's actually bringing one of the most valuable values in our culture as Africans, because in those little stages, when you are a child, you are allowed to go and play with children. You know, you won't be sitting with parents when the parents are talking. But nowadays, there is no difference between adults and children because everything is just exposed. And those are the concerns. And as much as we say we're trying to help our children, we are actually killing them in the process.
So the good intentions actually could produce negative outcomes. Yeah.
Exactly. And the second question that I had was, do we really need the government to tell us how to raise our children? Because today we have prisons that are full, whereby there's not even space. There's also laws that know these they are very young, they are underage, they can be arrested. But we are looking at a rate, Mr. Tsima, that is going higher, whereby children are killing one another in schools. And these are real things that we are facing in society. The other day in the office, I was asking the colleagues that we need to pray for children because there is an attack in the lives of the children, you know, and parents are pushed back from an ability to help their own children. Parents are fearful of putting laws that are going to regulate and guide their children in a right manner. We are not being negligent of the fact that there are parents that are killing and molesting children, and there are parents that are really abusive to children. But I believe, Mr. Zana, there are certain levels of doing things. We can't just say when you spank your child, when you are telling your child certain rules that they're supposed to abide by in their home, that is regarded as abuse. As much as the government is putting those structures in place, how far are they helping? Are they able to look back and monitor and say, okay, from this period when we released this law, when we released this legislation, this is the outcome? Because from all the laws that I've seen in South Africa, they're actually pushing children right to the dead end, more than ever before.
Beautiful. You've captured it very well. It is actually a workshop theme on its own, and so valuable. And I think I've had it several times being raised, and that said to me that parents are frustrated by the fact that they become very powerless. But I think out of dialogue, out of sessions and the mini LEKGOTLAs, there could be a middle of the road type of a solution. I don't know what it is, but let's hear the colleagues in the mini Lekgotlas. Maybe bring it up again if you have time, but certainly in the main Lekgotla feedback, let's raise it back, and then we'll give the colleagues, the speakers, just to respond to it. The reason why I didn't want us to respond to it there and there, I knew that the mini Lekgotla will definitely look into this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, during the session you asked a very interesting regional geographic problem. If you can just recapture it, and that has to do with these universal commissions and the laws or policies that we adopt that may put us in a conflict regionally. But you can formulate it much better for the benefit of the mini Lekgotla and everybody else.
Okay, thanks. The name is Patrick Zima. So my question was to do with the UN Commission, and it was to say not every country in the world is a signatory to the US Commission, to the UN Commission, and therefore that means not everybody abide and applies the recommendations of the UN Commission, and therefore the lot of conflicts that we see in regional communities like your SADCs and your African Union communities, and to a certain extent to the European Unions, are brought about by the fact that some of us we go to the UN Commission and we adopt the UN Commission recommendations, and we come to the regional groupings, and then we have conflict with our neighbors because what we want to implement in the regional groupings are not necessarily what applies to them in terms of their belief system and how they run their country. So my bit of concern, and also as a highlight, was to say how do we, whether UN Commission have got a way of enforcing themselves onto the countries of the world, including those who do not sign with them, or are they only dealing with the countries that are signatories to the UN Commission? And it would also be interesting to find out how, for example, somebody like President Cyril Ramaphosa will enforce the recommendations of the UN Commission as believed by South Africa and as a chair of the African Union to the rest of the 54 African communities that are not necessarily signatories to the UN, and some of them are not signatory to the UN and would not necessarily want to abide by those.
Yes.
And then the second question. I don't know if I
thank you. That was well repeated. You had another question, one or two more questions. You can just capture them as well.
Thanks again. And the other question was on genetic brain profiling. And I was saying, as I was listening, I was asking the practitioner as to when will be in the development of a child and as they grow.
Yes.
When is the right timing or the right stages when, as a parent or as a mentor or as a leader or as a guider, when you then move from what she described as a dismissive emotional practice that generally deals with at times just dismissing the certain practices of the kids because they're kids and they're allowed to behave in those terms, and when do you move from those to coaching emotional practices? Because
that was mentioned in the video. Right?
It was mentioned in the video, and also Helena touched on that a little bit.
Yes.
And my wondering is what is the timing right to say now we can move from dismissive to emotional?
That is in terms of age?
In terms of age,
okay.
Yes. And that's what my other question was, and I'm done. Thanks.
Okay. Great, thank you very much. I think that helps. So we'll see what the response from the mini Lekgotla and also during the main Lekgotla will be. Yeah, Mr. Bosetse Matole, You raised a very interesting question during the session before we went on to the mini LEKGOTLA. We want just to reformulate that for the benefit of the mini LEKGOTLA feedback and also, of course, the deliberations during the mini LEKGOTLA and hopefully the response from the two guest speakers.
Yes, Mr. Zema. Dr. Zonke raised an issue regarding government given a platform where there is a progression implementation on those human rights. Each and every government is given a leeway to say you cannot implement all these at once. You have a plan, you can be able to implement. Just show us with a plan. So I was highlighting to say, the question is, in our country, because we have provinces,
Yes.
you find there is a province whereby there's still pit toilets in a school which they've been using,
Yeah.
but there's a certain province whereby there is students now with MHC saying one student, one tablet, meaning students are way advanced than rather than another province. So in terms of when you are monitoring the implementation of this or this progression implementation of this children's rights, how do you actually justify in the same countries?
Yes.
And you find that there is such big discrepancies. Thank you.
Wow, that's really a real life question. So you are saying basically, and I'm just sort of like summing it up, that we should be allowing a situation that in the same country, other provinces can be so advanced. I don't know whether it's because of resources or whatever. And others, it's like there are two different provinces, but they are in one country.
Yes.
Fundamental question. Let's see what comes from the mini LEKGOTLA. Maybe also challenge your colleagues to touch on it if time allows. But during the feedback session, let's hope that the guest speakers will address it. And that's exactly the reason why I wanted us to capture these questions, because they could become a basis of a workshop in the future, because they are really true concerns. Thank you.